Alrighty, today we're going to talk about solving equations. Some vocabulary you're going to need to know is an equation is a statement that two expressions are equal. A solution of an equation are all the values of the variable that make the equation true. The inverse operations, or operations that undo each other. The identity, which is an equation that is true for every value of the variable. And literal equation, which is an equation that uses at least two different letters as variables. Alright, so some properties you need to know is properties of equality. So we're going to let A, B, and C represent some real number we don't know. Alright, so properties that we have is reflexive, which just means A equals A. So for example, 4 equals 4. We have symmetric, so which means if A equals B, then B equals 4, such that if 3 equals X, then the same thing is true if X equals 3. It's transitive, which means if A equals B and B equals C, then A will equal C. So for example, if 4 plus 3 equals 7 and 7 equals W, then 4 plus 3 equals W. So all those things will just be equal to each other. Substitution. So if A equals B, then you can replace A with B and vice versa. So if X equals Y and 5 plus X equals 9, then 5 plus Y also equals 9. Okay. Make sure you get all this written down. Again, you can pause, rewind, fast forward if I'm going too slow, going too fast, or anything like that. Alright, so let's look at example 1. Looking at solving a one-step equation. Alright, so the way we're going to solve equations is we're always just going to do the opposite or inverse operation. So here we have x plus 9 equals 15. Well, the inverse operation of plus 9 would simply be minus 9. But what I do to one side, I'm also going to do to the other side. When I do my math here, the x comes down, and then 9 minus 9 equals 0. So that right there zeroes out and goes away. We're no longer dealing with it. Now we just have x on the left, and over here we have negative 15 minus 9. So you can either type that in the calculator or realize if you owe someone 15, you're borrowing another 9, you're now at negative 24. Right? And that's it. That's your answer. And that is a one-step equation. If you want to pause and try to do B, that'd be a good idea. Alright, so let's see what you got for B. Alright, so what I'm going to do here, a number next to a letter indicates multiplication. So the inverse of multiplication is actually division. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take it and I'm going to divide by 12. Right? 12 divided by 12 is 1, and 1 times b would just be b. So that is how those numbers were able to cancel each other. All right, now to figure out what 18 over 12 simplifies down to in your calculator, you actually go to it. Right, we can actually type 18 divided by 12 and hit enter, and it gives it to us as the reduced fraction. So we'll see it'll be actually 3 over 2. And there you go. Alright, so let's look at the next example. Alright, so let's do solving two-step equations. So the one step should have been real nice and easy. If not, do some more practice. So let's look at two-step equation. Alright, so here I have negative 3y plus 7.4 equals 20.9. The very first thing you want to do is get rid of the constant. Alright, so that's the first thing we're doing. The constant in this situation is positive 7.4. So the inverse of adding 7.4 is subtracting 7.4. So we're left then with negative 3y. So here we get 20.9 minus 7.4. If you're not good with your decimals, you just type that in your calculator, 20.9 minus 7.4, and we get 13.5. Right. Your second step in a two-step equation is then to get rid of the coefficient. Right. So in this situation, the coefficient is negative 3. And the way we're going to do that, if you remember from the previous problem, a number next to a letter indicates multiplication. So the inverse of that would be division. Again, what I do to one side, I'll have to do to the other side. So negative 3 divided by negative 3 gives us positive 1, so they go away. So I'm left with just the y equals 13.5 over negative 3. So we can just type that in our calculator. And we get negative 4.5. There's our answer. Go ahead and try B. Alright, so let's check B real quick. Following these steps. First thing I said, get rid of the constant. My constant is negative 7. Well, the inverse of subtracting 7 is adding 7. So I'm going to add 7 to both sides. So it zeroes out. I'm left with 2/3 y equals 5 plus 7. All right, well, 5 plus 7, if you're not good with it, just put it in your calculator. You see that it's 12. Next, step 2 says get rid of my constant. Well, my constant's a fraction, which is 2/3. Well, that's okay. Fractions are numbers too, so I'm still going to divide by 2 divided by 3. That will 1 out because it's the same thing. And now I have 12 divided by 2/3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 12 divided by, I'm going to use parentheses to indicate that this right here is one number. I just don't really know the decimal of it, or the exact. Alright, so I'm going to do 2 divided by 3. You have to do that for the calculator's sake. Sometimes you don't need it, sometimes you do, but just to be on the safe side. And we see that it's actually going to be 18. You could have also multiplied by the reciprocal as well, which in this case you could have took 2/3 y equals 12 and multiplied them both by 3 over 2. Those were the cancels, so you got y. And then you would saw this was 36 over 2, which is half of 36 is 18. So either way it works. It just depends on which one you're more comfortable with. Alright, so let's move on to the next one. Alright, so let's solve for the variable. Right? So now apply everything that we know. So this is solving equations with grouping symbols. That's just basically another word for parentheses. Alright, so the very first thing you have to do in this situation, so to add to the steps we just did, you need to get rid of the parentheses. The way you're going to do that is you're going to distribute. Alright, so 4 times 3, always multiply the numbers, are 12m plus 4 times 5, which is 20, equals 56. Now I didn't multiply 4 to 56 because it was not in the parentheses. Right, now I can do what my steps were. Get rid of the constant first. So the inverse of adding 20 is subtracting 20. So it goes away, so I'm left with just 12m. 56 minus 20 is 36. And then now I want to get rid of my coefficient by dividing by 12. $36 divided by 12 is 3. Again, check all that in your calculator if you need to. Go ahead and try B and C, or at least B. Alright, so let's look at B. So again, first thing I'm going to do is distribute. So I'm going to distribute the 7. So 7 times 2 is 14y minus 7 times 5, which is 35, minus 8y equals 1. Alright, so in this situation is a little bit different than what we're dealing with. We have like terms. We have to combine like terms first. So remember that when we combine it like terms, we did not change their sign. We just added them. So when I look at this, it's going to be 14 minus 8. Okay, so 14 minus 8 gives us 6. So this gives us 6y minus 35 equals 1. Now I'm ready to go through my steps. Get rid of my constant, so the inverse of subtracting 35 is adding 35. So 1 plus 35 is 36. And then I'm going to divide. Okay, got ahead of myself there. So the next step, last step, is to get rid of the coefficient. Again, since 6 is being multiplied by y, the inverse there is dividing. I got to divide both sides by 6, so that will go away. So it becomes y equals 36 divided by 6, which is 6. Okay. Let's look at the next one. Now I'm dealing with a fraction. Don't worry, fractions are still numbers too. So we're going to do 1/3 times 9 and 1/3 times 15. On my calculator here, I'm going to do, again, fractions, I always put it in parentheses, so the calculator knows that's a fraction. I'm going to do 1/3 times 9, and I see it's just 3. So it gives me 3w. I'm going to do the same thing with 15. 1/3 times 15, and it gives me 5. So it's plus 5 equals negative 7. Now I'm ready to go through my steps. Get rid of my constant, so the inverse of adding 5 is subtracting 5. And so it gives me 3w. So negative 7 minus 5, again going dead, that's going to be a larger negative, so it's negative 12. And then to get rid of my coefficient, I'm going to divide by 3. So negative 12 divided by 3 is negative 4. There you go. All right. Go ahead, when you get done with taking your notes, go ahead and watch the second video, and then don't forget to post in the discussion either a question or comment about what you learned.